said this, if I'd have said this, or you'd have said this, Rita, I'm sure Keir Starmer and his police force would take a different view. But of course, I don't believe a word of it. First of all, it's perfectly true that the last Conservative government lost control of the borders. Absolutely true. It's also true, though, that Keir Starmer has lost control of the borders. Almost 1,000 people came in a couple of days ago, in one day alone, on the illegal crossings across the Channel, on boats organized by criminal gangs. When he says that it's not a right to land in Britain and just stay, he's right. It's just something anyone can do, however. It's just something that nobody in his government or his border force are doing anything to.
Keir Starmer, the myth, the human equivalent of lukewarm tea with no sugar, no milk, and served in a chipped mug labelled centrism. If charisma were a crime, Starmer would be out on bail for complete innocence. But don't worry, Douglas Murray didn't come to sip tea. He came to turn this political beige wallpaper into a Jackson Pollock painting of sarcasm and reality checks live on TV. And Starmer, he looked like a man who just realised he brought a spreadsheet to a flamethrower fight.
The actual desire to tar anyone who has, as I say, not got a voice and is wanting to make their voice heard as a violent far-right neo-Nazi seems to me to be a big error by Keir Starmer and others. Because, if you can't say, we recognize your deep concerns about some things that have happened, including mass stabbings, terrorism, and much more. We understand your deep concerns, and we are going to try to get onto this and on top of this. But there is no excuse to turn out on the streets and be violent against your Muslim brothers and sisters and neighbors or anyone else. If they can't say that, they just cannot say it. They just have to go to the secondary thing.
Let's begin with the basics. Keir Starmer's grand political strategy is essentially cosplay. He wakes up every morning, stares into the mirror and asks, how can I pretend to be more boring than yesterday? It's like he's auditioning for the role of generic British man in a BBC drama no one asked for. His idea of leadership is to be not too left, not too right, not too anything, just aggressively bland, with the consistency of mashed potatoes left out in the rain.
Meanwhile, we've got Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. Well, he's in danger of being arrested with some of the commentary he's been tweeting. Douglas, extraordinary stuff. He seems to be morphing into Donald Trump if his work on X is to be believed. In the past couple of weeks, he's posted about coming for illegal immigrants. He said he'll put Britain first and end the reliance to cheap overseas labour that's taking jobs from Brits. He posted, if you want to live in the UK, you should speak English. That's common sense. Bravo. He also said settlement in the UK is a privilege. That has to be earned. It's not a right. And he also said this about strong borders, that the Tories lost control of our borders and let net migration soar to record levels, undercutting hardworking Brits. I won't stand for it, Douglas.
Douglas Murray, on the other hand, doesn't do bland. He came armed with a flamethrower of facts, a scalpel of sarcasm, and a PhD in not having time for nonsense. Starmer barely had time to blink before he was reduced to a political ghost, haunting the studio with the spirit of missed opportunities and budget cuts.
Now, the actual desire to tar anyone who has, as I say, not got a voice and is wanting to make their voice heard as a violent far-right neo-Nazi seems to me to be a big error by Keir Starmer.
Starmer's attempt to present himself as the saviour of Britain would be adorable if it wasn't so tragically hilarious. It's like watching someone try to plug a hole in the Titanic with a tea towel. You know he means well, kind of, but you're also painfully aware that disaster is not only inevitable, it's probably already in progress. His big plan? Be slightly less disappointing than the Tories. A bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how that plays out.
Now, Douglas, it's happened again. Keir Starmer is again tweeting like he's Donald Trump, an angry Donald Trump. He posted, you have every right to be angry about small boat crossings. I'm angry too. And he's promised all sorts of action there. But Douglas, the number of people claiming asylum in the UK in the past year, in 2024, was the highest since records began. They're not really doing much to solve this issue.
Under Starmer, the Labour Party went from being a sometimes overly enthusiastic political force to something resembling a risk management committee at a local council. Exciting, right? He's the kind of leader who would respond to a national crisis by assembling a subcommittee, scheduling a consultation, and then issuing a strongly worded memo to be ignored by everyone, including himself. And speaking of ignoring, Starmer's track record of pretending problems don't exist is Olympic level. Immigration crisis? Let's review it. Rising inflation? We're exploring options. Public sector strikes? We respect the process. Translation? He's doing the political equivalent of hiding under a duvet with headphones in, hoping reality will give up and go away.
What do you offer?
Revenge with knives. We don't give a damn anymore.
Who dies first?
Keir Starmer.
Douglas Murray wasn't having any of that. He called out the soggy platitudes, the leadership by focus group nonsense, and the sheer audacity of Starmer acting like a man with a plan when the only thing he's successfully led is a committee on how to not offend absolutely anyone ever. Spoiler, it didn't work. Everyone's still offended, and now they're also bored. Let's not forget Starmer's incredible ability to say absolutely nothing in 500 words or more. The man could give a TED talk titled The Art of Verbal Wallpaper and still get a standing ovation from centrists who believe decisive action is a bit too much. He'll start a sentence with, "Let me be clear," then proceed to fog up the room with so much ambiguity you'll need a compass and a Sherpa just to find the point.
We are an anomaly like that. Maybe Farage will blow it up. I mean, the Conservatives have blown themselves up. It'll be very hard to know what remains of them after the election. But it's a bizarre situation historically to end up in. The only country going to the left, and with real ignoramuses at the top. I can never get over the fact that David Lammy seems to believe that a man can grow a cervix if he takes the right medication.
And a man who was campaigning for us to rejoin the EU at one point. Now there's the irony there, isn't
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the irony of a Labour government which is almost certainly going to try to drag us back into the common market or something, some kind of back door or side door. The irony of that.
Douglas, ever the surgeon, peeled back the curtain and revealed that Starmer's brand of politics is less about convictions and more about not getting sued. He operates like a risk analyst for an insurance firm, careful, calculated and utterly devoid of soul. He's not trying to lead a movement. He's trying to avoid making headlines, unless it's about his latest non-committal policy shift. And oh, the policy shifts. Watching Keir Starmer change positions is like watching a weather vane in a hurricane. He'll promise one thing, then months later pretend he never said it. Tuition fees? Scrap them. Until he discovered students don't vote with enough enthusiasm. Nationalisation? Absolutely. Until he realised corporations donate more than train commuters. His memory is so selective it could be a Netflix algorithm, set to grey suit politician mode.
His police force would take a different view. But of course, I don't believe a word of it. First of all, it's perfectly true that the last Conservative government lost control of the borders. Absolutely true. It's also true, though, that Keir Starmer has lost control of.
Douglas practically had a bingo card of Starmer's reversals and contradictions. It was like watching a roast combined with a court case. Exhibit after exhibit of promises filed under "just kidding." Starmer's campaign slogans might as well include "It depends," "We're looking into it," and "Things have changed," otherwise known as the political equivalent of "It's not you, it's me."
I mean, Keir Starmer says, in a tweet, "I'm angry," in order to try to placate the actual, real anger of the British public, who just, whether it's Conservative or Labour, the migration just keeps going up and up endlessly. So that just illegal boat crossings across the channel in a single day again the other day were about 1,100 people. More than 1,000 people arriving illegally in a day. I mean, what's the point of having laws? What's the point of even pretending you have borders, let alone pretending that you're angry when they're being infringed, when they're being infringed every single...
Then there's the way Starmer treats his own party, like a crime scene he's trying to cover up. Remember when Labour was actually about, Labour? These days, it's about distancing himself from anything that resembles a principle. Workers' rights? Mumbled support followed by silence. Union leaders met with the enthusiasm of someone recognising an X in the grocery store. Party members with left-wing ideas purged faster than bad reviews on a politician's Wikipedia page. Douglas didn't just mention this, he deep-fried it and served it with a side of, "This is why no one trusts politicians." Starmer treats grassroots activists like a teenager treats their parents, embarrassing relics of the past who just don't get it. And by it we mean his grand plan to win elections by pretending the Labour Party is just the Conservative Party with slightly different fonts.
In Britain, it's not just the two-tier policing system that Keir Starmer has overseen since coming into office. It's the fact that the police, local councils, MPs, and others have all overseen this, and they've all overseen this, and it required perhaps.
And speaking of elections, Starmer's idea of campaigning is to show up, smile awkwardly, say something beige, and then leave before anyone can ask a real question. He moves through constituencies like a man avoiding eye contact with his ex at a wedding, polite, brief, and deeply uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Douglas Murray delivered his critique like a Shakespearean monologue laced with flamethrower energy. He didn't just challenge Starmer's competence, he held up a mirror and asked, "Who even are you?" Because let's be honest, no one really knows. Is he left, right, centre, a hologram? An elaborate social experiment to see how long someone can lead a major party without ever making a definitive statement. The only thing we know for sure is that he's never met a fence he didn't sit on. Cross-legged, sipping lukewarm tea.
But Keir Starmer has suddenly discovered the startling news that men have a penis and women have a vagina. It is a departure from what he has said in the recent past. Indeed, he is performing quite a few backflips in this area. Let's have a look.
A woman can have a penis.
Nick, I don't think we can conduct this debate with,
Trans rights are human rights, and I support the right to self-identification. I think we need to respect the right to self-identify, and we're committed to updating the GRA to introduce self-declaration for trans people.
We don't think that self-identification is the right way forward.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right.
Is it wrong?
Starmer could be at the helm of a revolution and still somehow make it look like an HR meeting about printer etiquette. He's the kind of leader who would politely ask the status quo to move a little to the left, but only if everyone agrees and no one raises their voice. A man so allergic to risk, he probably asks his barista if the cappuccino foam has been tested for controversy. His entire political strategy appears to be, let's not upset anyone. Ever, which is adorable if you're running a cat cafe, less ideal when you're trying to run a country. At a time when people are desperate for authenticity, Starmer's idea of being relatable is telling us he once ate a sandwich, probably with a knife and fork, while reading a spreadsheet, and still somehow managed to offend no one and inspire even fewer. You could replace him with a moderately intelligent screensaver and the polling numbers would remain exactly the same.
Just as I say, this is the most cynical tactic. And I, at any rate, don't believe a word of what Keir Starmer says. I have heard politician after politician, Labour and Conservative, say this for decades. They always say the same pabulum. They say when they feel like they might need to just sort of enforce the base a bit, they say these things like, I think that people should speak English if they come to England. And everyone's meant to say, my gosh, what an amazing breakthrough. It doesn't matter a darn if you're losing your country all the time because you don't enforce your...
Douglas didn't have to raise his voice. All he had to do was calmly point out that Starmer's greatest political weapon is plausible deniability. I didn't say that. I didn't promise that. I didn't mean it like that. It's like watching someone play hide and seek with their own principles. It wasn't a clash. It was a public autopsy of a political illusion. And Keir Starmer was the ghost who showed up late, apologised profusely, and still managed to bring nothing to the table but vague intentions and recycled slogans. He doesn't challenge power. He consults a PR team before cautiously frowning. And the media? Oh, bless them. They keep pretending Starmer's quiet approach is strategic. Yes, because nothing says visually leadership like playing political minesweeper in slow motion. Every move he makes is designed not to offend anyone, which means he ends up impressing absolutely no one.
Single day. And if Starmer actually wants to demonstrate that he feels angry about this, he shouldn't just send out a tweet. He should start the forced deportation of the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have broken into the UK illegally. Is he going to do that?
Douglas Murray pointed this out with surgical precision. Starmer's leadership isn't the antidote to conservative chaos, it's the lullaby that puts people to sleep right after. In a time when people are begging for boldness, Starmer offers bureaucratic droning, like someone trying to read the national budget as bedtime poetry. Incredible. Someone tell the glaciers melting in Greenland that Sir Keir is watching from a safe distance and taking careful notes on Microsoft Excel. Douglas didn't just throw shade, he brought the entire eclipse. He highlighted the sheer absurdity of Starmer's political existence. A leader who doesn't lead, a reformer who's afraid of reform, and a party chief who treats his own base like they're the problem. Starmer's biggest accomplishment? Convincing millions of people that he exists without making them care that he does. He's like a political screensaver, technically running, but doing absolutely nothing useful.
For any man to get into his 60s and discover that men have penises and women don't, makes you wonder what he's done with his life. But no, of course, this is all just this. I mean, it's so pathetic watching him wriggle like that. He failed to stand up for his very brave female MP, Rosie Duffield, when she simply stated biological fact. He spent a long time doing exactly what we saw him do in one of those interviews, which is, well, it might be true, but we shouldn't say it, as if facts are sort of offensive, and always this dance. It reminds me of the sort of the religious wars of the 14 and 1500s, when people were sort of forced to say things or forced to denounce things, even if they believed them. And it's like that. Why?
At this point, Labour's official slogan might as well be, we might do something, eventually, maybe. And the manifesto? A 300-page brochure of maybe statements, all written in legalese so vague it could double as a horoscope. Meanwhile, Starmer is out there acting like courage is contagious, and he's been fully vaccinated against it. Douglas simply held up a mirror, and Starmer vanished like a vampire at brunch. Because when your leadership style resembles a soggy risk assessment form, it doesn't take much sunlight to expose the soggy, shivering centre of it all. But don't worry, he's got big plans. Somewhere, in a PDF, in a drawer, guarded by legal disclaimers and pre-approved slogans, Starmer dreams of a Britain that changes absolutely nothing, just more politely. A country run on spreadsheets and focus groups where passion is discouraged and principles are quarantined.
I don't even know if Keir Starmer has seen these tweets. I'm sure he doesn't write them. His own Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary and others have distanced themselves from the language he's used himself. But it's just language games, Rita. That's all it is. It's language games. They don't do anything. Not in the real world. Thousands of people will continue to break into Britain every week illegally. And in the meantime, what do we have? Keir Starmer, the brave tweeter. Well, as you say, Rita, it's lucky that he's Prime Minister and not, for instance, a white or working class mother in the north of England, or otherwise he'd be having his...
Douglas Murray, with that cutting delivery and terrifyingly accurate wit, made it clear Keir Starmer is not the future. He's the result of political burnout. A man chosen not for his fire, but for his ability to keep the lights dim. He's what happens when a party chooses safety over soul, and the only thing he's actually destroyed is enthusiasm. So, cheers to Douglas for doing what few dare, peeling the wallpaper off the walls of Westminster and pointing at the rotting plaster behind it. Because if Keir Starmer really is the best alternative Britain has, then it's not just the Tories who need fixing, it's the entire script. And somewhere, off in the distance, Starmer is probably still consulting a team of advisors to craft a statement that says nothing, offends no one, and answers absolutely zero questions. Classic.